Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your East Oakland advocate. Well, in this episode, I'm going to talk more in depth about my cruise ship program and how this is a deeply affordable housing program. And the numbers just make absolute sense, and how this does not cost the taxpayers a dime. And we get housing that turns back the clock, literally, and it's a system that has already been proven that works. And people say, well, how can that be so? Because nowhere, well, actually, it was right here in the San Francisco Bay Area where we didn't use a cruise ship. But we did use, San Francisco used a troop transport ship provided by the United States Navy. Because if you remember, the Loma Prieta earthquake happened on October 17th, which was just after Fleet Week. Fleet Week had pretty much culminated, and were leaving San Francisco, except that there were still the display ships, the transport ship, troop transport ship that was along the Embarcadero for the military show. And when the earthquake happened, a lot of buildings in the Tenderloin were red tagged, and approximately 5,000 people needed emergency housing, and San Francisco simply didn't have that, because if you remember, the Marina District was completely wiped out, and what didn't fall down in the earthquake through the liquefaction burned up. And so there was a huge demand for housing, and especially for low income, no income housing, which was really devastated in the Tenderloin. And so what ended up happening, the mayor back then was Mayor Art Agnos. He went to the Navy and asked if there was anything that the Navy can provide to help house people temporarily. And so the United States Navy said, well, we already have a troop transport down there. It has housing for up to 2,000 individuals, has cooking facilities, not bath showers, but showers and bathrooms, toilets, and everything. So it was meant to house people. That was what that ship was, much like a cruise ship. But a cruise ship is even more extensive, because now you're able to have businesses on top of that. And so these cruise ships become actually a self-regulating community on the water. And the affordability of these ships now, as they're being taken out of commission from a lot of cruise ship organizations, and putting them up for sale on the world market. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that they end up going to a scrapper for pennies on the dollar. And these ships, they have 100-year life expectancy, service life, for the hull. The hull, which keeps the ship afloat, has that length of time. And so typically the ships that we would be looking at were launched no later than 1999 would be the oldest ship. So that would make it 25 years old. So there's still more than 75 years of seaworthiness left in that ship. But these ships aren't going anywhere. They're just going to be parked, permanently moored, much like the Queen, the Queen Elizabeth II down in Los Angeles. And we actually have a place here in the city of Oakland called Oakland Middle Harbor Shoreline Park. It is a 180-acre site. I'm going to show some pictures as we go. I'm going to drop in some pictures of the site. And the site used to be Military Sealift Command, and what they did, they kept it on a ready 30-day a troop transport, supply transport, fuelers, oilers, things like that. And then also there were two uh, uh, Red Cross medical ships that were there because of the Vietnam War at the time, and that's where a lot of the Army supply base was attached to MSC. And so I know a lot about it because my dad worked there for a number of years, and I was on site, and I was able to see a lot of things. It was a very secure site, but it would do a lot of good to bring in a cruise ship program. Number one, it brings a whole new interest. It also allows us to develop, kind of like what the baseball stadium across the way. It's built on pilings, and so we're not filling in any part of the bay, but we're building over it, and this allows for new marine life to spawn, and it's good for the area, because when the ships left, the fishing and the marine life in the area literally died. And so it'd be good to restore the marine habitat, a lot of opportunities to bring back some incredible fishing and crabbing and everything else here in the bay, just through the environmental properties of this project. But anyway, just to give you some numbers to think about. And we're using a formula that I use for business, which is called 2/3. And there are many parts and components to this. There's, on a cruise ship, on these cruise ships, there's a housing and HOA component, which is the residential portion. And then the other 2/3, which is the business portion. That's all the different little spots throughout the ship. Approximately 500,000 square feet of sales and commercial space that is available, and then that only covers 2/3 of the ships for the cabins, and so the remainder of the cabins can be looked at for the zero income housing, and also to be funded by FEMA for emergency housing. So these are great opportunities, and here's the best part of all: it's extremely affordable. And the way I say it's extremely affordable, we're taking the rule of 2/3, like I said. So that means if we're using an example of a newer ship and a maximum cost of $1.9 million, and that's on the high. Literally, that is on the high side of these ships. And so there are typically 2,400 cabins, and that does not include the 800 for crew and staff. So keep in mind, those are the freebie cabins that will be available for FEMA and zero income folks. And the rule of 2/3 is that if the ship costs $1.9 million, this particular portion, the HOA, the homeowner association, the ownership of cabins, at 2,400, they need to recoup for their portion $1.3 million, and through the sales of each of the cabin, and that's not that hard to do, really, and be affordable. Here's the great part: a lot of you are going to get really excited about this. The cost to the ships HOA management, that would come out to an average of $544.38 per cabin for ownership. Now, you cannot build buildings or create housing cheaper than this. $544.38 is the total cost average per cabin. And so what we need to recoup, because there's some expenses that in pools that have to be created for the HOA, and that is a replacement pool in the event that something happens to the ship, and the ship needs to be replaced. And so there would be a fund to fully replace that ship on an emergency basis. Also, along with that, self-insurance, meaning that not only can the HOA replace that ship, but also they can replace the content, a majority of the contents of that ship. And then there's a reserve pool that rolls over from the completed sale of each ship. There should be a little over $600,000 profit from the two-thirds rule. And so that profit helps fund the next purchase, the next ship to be purchased. And it can be purchased in cash, and then it also that the money helps cover the moving expense from wherever that ship is to the Port of Oakland, Oakland Middle Harbor, into its final architecturally designed space. And the Port of Oakland is heavily involved in the selection of the ships and negotiating of the price and the movement from wherever it is to Oakland, but also the city of Oakland, the Oakland housing, community housing agency is involved with that also. So it's looking out for the interests of those that are prospective owners. And so the two-thirds rule, with that, I want to say, helps raise an additional, if we're selling at these ridiculously low rates, which for the cabins has to average $1,633.14 to own. And that helps establish not only the ship, helps buy the ship, it creates the replacement pool and also the pool for the self-insurance. And that's not a month. That's a one-time price. One-time price. That's the cost. And with that, in 2,400 units, that raises $12 million. More than enough to cover the $2 million in the cost of acquiring the ship, plus the expenses to move the ship over. But that's only half of it. So the other half comes from the business portion, and that is based upon square footage. Now, this is for those of you that are business owners. I know you're paying outrageous and ridiculous square footage rates for your space. Now, how about if we just turn back the clock and you could buy and own your space so that you control all of your overhead expenses moving into the future. And because you have such a low overhead, you're able to maintain a good, excuse me, I'll be right back. You're able to maintain an extremely low overhead, and what that does, that enables you to pay a living wage to each one of your employees, not tip dependent, and you still can make a very handsome profit, because instead of paying $125 to $500 a square foot, pay $25. And for some of the spaces, even below decks, where they may not be exposed to outside windows or anything, you know, the ownership costs will be significantly lower. But the average, what that creates a pool of $12 million, more than enough for its share of covering the cost of the ship, moving the ship, and then also that helps set up a fund to create the HOA management that oversees everything on board the ship, whether it's residential or commercial. And it also is the agency that conducts the monthly meetings so that everybody knows what's going on and what the expenses are and everything. So everybody's in the loop. Everything's very transparent. But like I said, this is something where the maintenance and upkeep is there's a fund for that. The conversions that will be necessary to create the power and generate the power for everybody living on board. And we're going green, so we're looking at some of the new technologies, installing the new vertical horizontal turbine wind generators, and these are designed to create 20,000 kilowatts each. And so down in along the bay and the port, it makes sense because it is constantly windy down there, and to have it work in conjunction with solar panels on the roof of the 4-story buildings that would be part of all of the interest, the business interests of the new Oakland Middle Harbor district. And so this creates a whole new shopping and entertainment district, which is lively 24 hours a day. You don't have the neighbors complaining because you don't have any residents. It's literally surrounded by the Port of Oakland, which operates 24/7, 364, because I know they don't work on Christmas Day. But the cost, everything is there. It's an incredible program. How we get it started, and we allot money for this. We include this in an EIFD, Enhanced Infrastructure Funding District. And what that does, it collects the sales taxes that are generated from this district, the additional taxes because of people coming in, tourism, people moving in to and on board these ships and cabins. And a lot of you are saying, "Well, I don't know if I want to live on a ship or anything like that." Well, we have a trial period, what we call rent to own, and it gives you an opportunity to actually live on board for up to 2 years. And what you'll be doing is leasing the space, paying a small rent, so to speak. It'll be more than what the cabin's worth, but if you think about it, it gives you an opportunity to live aboard the ship, experience the businesses that are literally all around you, the entertainment options that will be all owned. And for those of you that have businesses on board, imagine walking to work, and because you buy a cabin that you live in, and you're part of the HOA, and you're a business owner, so you purchase your square footage for your business frontage. Or if you don't have a frontage, then that's a whole different. It still works on the business platform of the 2/3 program, but it's wildly different. Uh, but there are a lot of different things, and imagine this: $24 a square foot. That's unheard of these days for a commercial business, and to own it, not just rent, owning and you're part of the self-insured, so you don't have to worry about the business insurance because you're covered with the co-op insurance that covers the ship end to end, and so uh, you don't have the struggles of trying to find business insurance or the threat of being canceled here in California, along with all the other things that are happening. And so we're addressing all of this to make running and operating and owning a business once again affordable. And the great thing, because you own that spot, you have longevity, you have ongoing interest, financial interest, which is transferable, meaning sellable in the future, so that um, if you want to retire, you can either choose to sell the business and the site for a certain price, which also has to be approved by the Port of Oakland, uh, or not, Port of Oakland, for the business, because they handled the business commercial side of the ship, the cruise ships. And so that would be the only contingency. Um, and like I said, this model originally was done back in 1989, right after the Loma Prieta earthquake. Program lasted for 1 year. It fed, housed, and took care of uh, the folks that were displaced in the Tenderloin right after the Loma Prieta earthquake. And so it's a proven system. And then also we see this system working on disasters in the island, just like Puerto Rico. Shortly after the big hurricane a number of years ago that wiped out the entire electrical system on Puerto Rico, what showed up first? Cruise ships, and they brought supplies, they brought food, and housing to a desperate disaster area called Puerto Rico back then. And so these ships are proven uh, models, and they are designed and architecturally designed maritime floating cities. They have hospitals, medical centers, morgues, even what they call a brig, police station on board, security station, and many others. And what this also does, it sets up a redundant systems for the Port of Oakland. That means that the Port of Oakland can have a backup uh, uh, office in the event of emergency. Also, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, will also have a direct office right there aboard ship, along with available housing, cheap emergency housing available, and that helps to fund the program. Along with the program, when you say, well, what's so great about the program? Well, that also helps set up, those monies help set up a program for those coming out of incarceration and are looking for a well-paying job that, because their incarceration isn't going to affect. And that's the part of the new ship maintenance and upkeep program. And that helps them to learn about maritime uh, maintenance on the sides of ships, also interior of the ships. They can learn plumbing. They can learn about the power generation systems. They can learn a lot and be well paid for it when they come out of incarceration. And there's a training, teaching period for them, and then also available housing, which is what these folks need. And they need a hand up. This gives them a hand up, not a handout. And so these are important features and functions that we just don't see our current leaders doing. And this is a program that had a lot of input, and that I put together, and that I fully plan on putting in place. And it's self-sustaining. It won't cost the taxpayer one dime ever, and creates extremely deeply affordable housing for folks. Imagine buying your home and owning it for less than $2,000 in some cases, and the average will be $5,000. It's unheard of. That's like buying a home back in 1900. That would be a custom built home, like my grandparents' home on Santa Clara, because that's what it cost back in the 1900s, $5,000 for the lot and the home. Imagine buying your space, your permanent space. You're an HOA owner, and there's some additional costs that's going to go along with that, but there's privileges of being an owner, and then also cooperating with the onboard businesses, because you can create a meal program, a very affordable meal program for everybody on board. And then that helps the businesses, number one, establish a permanent and accountable and measurable income, a guaranteed income that is consistent. And that's the best part. That helps with the planning for the businesses. So a lot of great things. Also, like I said, the lease to own program allows you up to 24 months of living on board. See if you like the lifestyle or not. If you don't like the lifestyle, you can leave and leave the lease at any time. Or the same applies if you really like how the living situation is and your spot. You can stop the lease immediately and sign an ownership HOA purchase for that cabin. So a lot of good things, and it's no risk, literally no risk to the taxpayers of City of Oakland nor Alameda County. There's no risk to those that are looking at home ownership in the HOA on board these ships. There's no risk to the business owners, because this creates nothing but affordable opportunities moving into the future. So let's see. I'm just checking my notes here. Oh yeah, the program was Try Before You Buy. That was the name of the program that I put on there. But again, the businesses will be able to pay their workers a real living wage, not like what the system that we see right now. But on board, there's business zones for throughout the ship, and then there's a management team that oversees how the decorations, the appearances, the upkeep and maintenance, and like I said, there's a little bit for everybody. Everybody gets a piece of the pie, and nobody's shorted. That's the great part. Nobody is screwed in this, because all the cabins are going to always have a housing value. And then if we ever get to a point in the future where those shipboard housing units are not needed, and there's a high amount of vacancy on the business side, those ships can be sold and removed. And those that have ownership can actually see money back. Yeah, think about that. Getting your money back because of the replacement pool money. Yeah, you don't get that anywhere else. Think about that, folks. So, a lot of positives. This is a well thought out program, an exciting program, and it works. Financially, the numbers are all there and balance out, and it helps pay back the EIFD, the loan money. Unlike the Coliseum, which didn't pay their bills back, this program pays its bills back, and it's designed for a 50-year lifespan, and it is renewable. So, a lot of positives. Thanks for joining me today. Hope that helps you reconsider deeply affordable housing.